Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, CRAC U just filed an amendment to their business combination agreement, and I am seeing some shifts in how they're planning to merge. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. This filing mostly cleans up details about shareholder votes and executive pay, but it also signals a step forward, or at least a clarification, in their planned merger with Carvix. So what we have here is a filing from Reserve Acquisition Corp, which is a special purpose acquisition company, or SPAC. These companies are essentially shells that go public with the sole purpose of finding another company to merge with. In this case, they are working on a merger with Carvix Incorporated. This particular filing is an 8K, which is used to report significant events that shareholders should know about. The main event here is that Reserve Acquisition Corp, along with its merger subsidiary in Carvix, have entered into a first amendment to their business combination agreement. Think of this like updating the terms of a deal. The original deal was signed back in March of 2026, and this amendment dated the 26th of August 2026. Make some important tweaks. Now, it is important to note that the amendment does not change the voting rights of shareholders. This is a crucial point, as changes to voting rights can significantly impact shareholder power and influence. However, what has changed is the way certain proposals will be voted on at their upcoming shareholder meeting. For most of the key proposals, like the actual business combination itself, approving the NASDAQ listing, and other important items, they now require what is called an ordinary resolution. This simply means a simple majority vote from the holders of Class A and Class B ordinary shares, voting together, so if more than 50% of the votes cast are in favour, it passes. However, things get a bit more specific for other proposals. The domestication proposal, which is about changing the company's legal home, and the organisational documents proposal, which deals with the company's core rules, require a special resolution. This means at least 2/3 of the Class B ordinary shares must vote in favour. And here is a key detail. Class A shareholders won't have a vote on these two specific proposals, which is tied to the company's Cayman Islands rules. This is quite common for SPACs, where different share classes have different rights. Similarly, the proposal to elect directors also requires an ordinary resolution, but only from the Class B shareholders. Class A shareholders won't be voting on director elections either, again following the company's constitutional documents. This structure gives more weight to the Class B shares in certain decision-making processes. Another part of the amendment addresses executive compensation. It clarifies that the base salaries for Carvix executives will be at least the amounts listed in a specific annex to the amendment. Any employment agreement that meets these minimum salary requirements and aligns with other terms in the original agreement will be considered compliant. It is important to note that this amendment doesn't change the Carvix disclosure schedule itself, meaning other details within that schedule remain as they were. Keeping track of these filings can feel like navigating a maze. That is why I rely on Decoder.report. It distills all these complex documents into easy to understand insights, showing risk scores, red flags with citations, share dilution, insider activity, and even cash runway for companies like this one. You can find the direct link in the description and the pinned comment so you can check it out later. So with that out of the way, back to the filing. The filing also includes a standard section about where investors can find more information. They are pointing people to a registration statement that will be filed with the CAC. This statement will contain proxy statements, which are documents sent to shareholders asking them to vote on the merger, and a prospectus which details the securities being offered. Essentially, they are telling shareholders to look out for these documents for the full picture before they vote. This part is basically a heads up that the company, Carvix, and their directors and officers might be considered participants in the solicitation of proxies. This is a regulatory requirement that means anyone involved in encouraging shareholders to vote a certain way needs to be disclosed. More details on who these participants are will be in the proxy statement. This section is a legal disclaimer. They are making it very clear that this report itself is not asking for a vote or offering to sell any securities. It is just reporting on an event. They are saying that any actual offer to sell securities will only happen through a proper prospectus that meets SEC requirements. And finally, the forward-looking statements section. This is a big one because Reserve Acquisition Corp is a SPAC, and they are in the process of merging. Many of their statements about the future are considered forward-looking. These are essentially educated guesses about what might happen. The filing explicitly states that the standard safe harbor protections for these kinds of statements do not apply here, meaning they can't hide behind them if things go wrong. They list a number of risks, such as the possibility that the business combination might not be completed, issues with meeting stock exchange listing standards, the risk of Carvix's business being disrupted, and the potential for shareholder dilution, it is a comprehensive list of things that could derail their plans. When SPACs like Reserve Acquisition Corp merge, the period after the merger is often tough. Historically, many SPACs, especially those with smaller market caps, see their stock prices drop significantly in the year following the merger. Often by 70 to 90%, this is because the initial excitement can wear off, and the reality of the combined company's performance sets in. The risks mentioned in this filing, like the potential for shareholder dilution and the uncertainty of achieving anticipated benefits, are common themes that contribute to these post-merger declines. So, what is the takeaway here? This amendment is a procedural step clarifying how votes will happen and setting some minimums for executive pay. It doesn't radically change the deal, but it does show progress in getting the merger with Carvix finalized. The significant number of risks highlighted, especially around the SPAC structure and the uncertainty of future performance, are what investors need to watch closely. The risk I am watching is whether the Class B shareholders' higher voting threshold for key proposals will create any roadblocks or lead to further negotiations that delay the merger. My biggest concern is the general pattern of SPAC performance post-merger, and whether Carvix will be one of the few to buck that trend. What I am actually looking for is a clear path to profitability and sustainable growth for Carvix, which is still an unknown quantity at this stage. Oh, and the research tools I actually use are linked in the description. They help keep this channel going. That is my take. Stay decoded if this analysis was valuable. Hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Check out the Discord in the description.